All right, guys, welcome back to the MD Medic Podcast. On this channel, we always talk about high-value men. Well, today, we're going to go through the exact steps on how to become one. Let's go. My fellow conquerors, welcome back to the MD Medic Podcast. Go ahead and give us a like and a subscribe. Boost this channel in the algorithm. Help more men like you become the best they can possibly be. Also, guys, I'm going to try something different. I want to hear exactly what you guys want me to talk about. So go ahead and put in the comments to this video and every video going forward the things that you want me to discuss, the things that you want me to break down in upcoming episodes, and I will try my very best to address all of those things. I want to hear from you guys. I want to be interactive with my audience. All right, let's get right into it. What is a high-value man? What defines a man as being high value? It's something that we talk about all the time in the red pill space, but we really need to break down and define what exactly a high-value man is. So, to have high value, something must be in a clear state of superiority. Something must be of higher quality and worth. Something must be rarer in contrast to the things around it. For example, what makes gold different than a regular rock? What makes it more valuable than other minerals out there? Gold is worth more. Gold is of superior quality and rarity than your regular stone. Or a Ferrari. What makes a Ferrari higher value than, let's say, a Prius? A Ferrari is exotic. It's of high quality. It's rare, it's hard to find, and hard to obtain. So that's what makes a Ferrari high value. So to be a high value man, you must essentially become the superior to men around you by every metric. High value man is a man that has accumulated resources and both social and financial status above that of the majority of the people around him. A high value man is also perceived as a superior amongst other members of his community. He is also accepted as a peer by other high value men. Why is it important to become a high-value man? Well, in order to get the life that you truly want, a life of financial freedom, a life where you are respected by others and not seen as just another human being, as a second-class citizen, you must become superior. You must become high-value. You must become an elite. And this is important also in today's dating marketplace, which is hyper-competitive. If you want to be able to have the women that you want, have your choice in mates, you have to become high value. Women essentially only want the top choices in men. You see, most men are attracted to most women, but most women are not attracted to most men. This we can see in the data from the Tinder experiment 2, which I have referenced before. Basically, this was an experiment where researchers compiled lots and lots of data from Tinder, the most common and most popular dating app in the world. They compiled all of this data from Tinder to basically see what it is that men and women are attracted to and what are the dating habits of men and women in today's society. And we essentially see here in this Tinder experiment that your average man, i.e. your man who is in the bottom 80%, the vast majority of other men in terms of attractiveness, and that's physical attractiveness, that is physique, that is socioeconomic status. The bottom 80% of men by these metrics, their likelihood of getting a like from a woman on any given day was 0.87%. Or in other words, if you were to line up 115 of the bottom 80% of men, the vast majority of men in terms of attractiveness, if you were to line up 115 of them, only one of them will get liked by a woman at any given day. See, unless you're the top elite of men, you're pretty much hopeless in being able to get the women that you want. This study also saw that only the bottom quartile of women in terms of attractiveness, i.e. the women that are objectively overweight, unattractive, basically deemed as less attractive by the majority of men, only these bottom quartile, these bottom 25% of women were the ones that were willing to even give the bottom 80% of men a chance. However, the entire scale of women, 100% of them, all ideally wanted a man who is in the top 20%. So what does that say? In order to be the man that has options, in order to be the man that can attract women, and not only attract women, but be able to attract the kind of women that you want, you must become a high-value man. There's another experiment that was done in multiple different cities, where essentially they took a man and a woman of the same objective attractiveness rating. They basically had this man, John, rated objectively by a bunch of different women on a scale of 0 to 10 in terms of attractiveness. And then they had a woman whose name is Jane, and they had her rated on a scale of 0 to 10 on a scale of attractiveness by a bunch of different men. And essentially, these two people were of the same attractiveness level, i.e. they were given the same average rating by their opposite gender. So essentially they took a man who was objectively attractive, and they took a woman who was objectively attractive. Both of these were essentially rated the same by the opposite gender in terms of attractiveness level. Let's just say they were an 8. Both people were an 8. Two very attractive individuals. And they essentially put them in different cities with a dating profile on Tinder to see who it was that could attract the most people of the opposite sex with their dating profile. It was essentially a study to see who has more access to sexual attention, who has the ability to get more options in the dating marketplace, men or women, if attractiveness is the same. And these study results were wild. Mind you, these are two attractive people, and both of them rated equally attractive. So the first day of this experiment was in Boston. So in Boston, in one day, the man got 25 likes on Tinder. The woman got 2,122 likes on Tinder. Ridiculous. So days 2 through 6, they spent in Europe, in Berlin, in Munich, in Copenhagen, in London, and in Paris. So, here is the results. The woman, on days 2 through 6, got an average of between 500 and 1,000 likes to choose from a day. The man had 20 to 30 likes per day. And then the last day of the experiment, they spent in New York, the most densely populated city in the United States. This is crazy. The man, mind you, an objectively attractive man who is rated equally as attractive as this woman who he's competing against. The man got 5 likes in New York City on day 7, and the woman got 500. 500. This is to show, men, that women have so many options to choose from men. And that in order to even compete, even if you're an attractive guy, the competition is absolutely astronomical. So therefore, you have to become a superior. You have to stand out. So therefore, being a high-value man is non-negotiable. And this is even worse by the fact that women's expectations of men are ridiculously high, and they do not reflect the average man. This is due to women constantly being shown only the best men on TV, in movies, and on social media. You see on women's Explore page. What kind of guy pops up on the Explore page of Instagram? Is it your average guy, 5'7", a little bit overweight, probably balding, makes $40,000 a year? No. It's some Captain America looking stud. muscles rippling, the guy's ripped, he's probably riding on a yacht somewhere. That's what women are constantly exposed to, and so they think that that's what they should expect from men. So the average guy has no chance. Because what women expect are only the tall, rich, handsome, fit studs that are constantly flashed in front of their face on movies, on TV. That's what they see on The Bachelor. That's what they see on their Instagram Explore page. That's what they see in Disney movies since they were a little girl. And there's 2 collegiate studies that actually show the effect of this. One from Mercer University. They did a study called the Prince Charming Effect, which basically shows how women have been programmed with social media, with TV, with movies, how that has affected their expectations of men. And there was another study from Governor State University that essentially showed the same thing. So, it is undeniable, women have more options than men. For every woman, there's hundreds of men pursuing her, especially if she has an online dating profile. So as a man, you have to become high value. You have to become superior to stand out. And even with all the options that women have, and the far fewer options that men have, studies have still shown that women say that it's harder to find a person that fits her standards. So even though she may have 500 possible suitors a day to choose from, and even the best, most attractive men may have 20 to 30, the woman still says that it's hard to find somebody that fits her standards. Look at this study right here by the Pew Research Center. So essentially, they polled a bunch of different women, and 56% of women said that it's hard to find someone who meets their expectations in the dating marketplace versus 35% of men. 65% of women say that it's hard to find someone who's looking for the same type of relationship as them versus 45% of men. Meanwhile, the majority of men say that it is hard for them to approach people, probably because they know that they don't really measure up to women's standards. So knowing all this, a lot of men want to get angry at the fact that women's standards are so high and they feel like they're so unrealistic and that men can't meet them, and that for the average guy out here, dating is really hard. But I say there's no reason to get angry about it. It's just a matter of biology. Women's attractiveness triggers are instinctive. They're ingrained in them for survival purposes. For example, imagine it's the Bronze Age. Everyone's living in warring tribes. And as a woman, you cannot defend yourself against some roving barbarian with the big sword and spear that wants to take your stuff. So your best option is to find the strongest, most capable man possible that will be willing to feed you and your children, protect you guys, protect the village, make sure that you're fed, make sure that you're safe, make sure that he can fight off the other warlords. And throughout history, women were always willing to even share this kind of man, the top tier man, so that they could be safe. You know, genetic studies have even shown that 97+% of women since the beginning of human history have been able to reproduce and pass on their DNA to children. But less than 40% of men have since the beginning of time, showing that a minority of men have always had all of the women. You see, it's so ingrained in women's DNA to find the best option possible for survival purposes that they're willing and always have been to share the top tier men, to share them rather than get with the man who they feel is beneath them. What does that say? That says, don't get mad, men. Compete. Be better. And I am here to teach you how. I'm here to teach you how to be better. And I say this. It is relatively easy to become a superior, to become a high value man when everyone else, when the average, when those surrounding you are absolutely sorry. They're trash. They're losers by every metric. Let me give you some examples of this, as I always do. I don't just say things on this podcast that are unsubstantiated. I always want to make sure that everything that I say is backed up by facts, data, logic, statistics. So let's do it. Let's do it. Okay. Here's an example. 75% of American men are overweight or obese. Look at this graph right here. 75%, 3/4 of American men are overweight or obese. This simply means that by simply getting in shape, you are in the top 25th percentile. You are superior to 75% of your peers if you're an American male by simply being in shape. Get ripped, get fit, stand out. It's that easy. Another metric. On average, a male in the United States works 40 hours a week and makes $40,000 a year. And after he comes home from work, he spends an average of 2 to 4 hours a night either watching TV or playing video games. You know, studies show that 85% of Gen Z respondents worry about their financial future. Listen, you can become a financial superior by simply working more, working harder, and getting better qualified for a job. Oh, but I don't have any education. Well, guess what? You can still make money. You can still be in the top percentile of men financially without having an education. I've made multiple episodes talking about different ways to invest money, talking about different ways to make money. Listen, if you make $40,000 a year, if you're the average male, $40,000 a year translates to about $20 an hour if that person is working 40 hours a week and works 50 weeks out of the year, assuming 2 weeks being taken for vacation. $20 an hour. If you literally just decide to pick up overtime and work 80 hours a week, then you are going to be making $100,000 a year. Because for the first 40 hours of the week, you're getting paid $20 an hour. For the second 40 hours of the week, because of labor laws, you're getting paid time and a half or $30 an hour. So therefore, you're making an average of $2,000 a week, putting yourself in the six-figure range. It is that easy to make more money. You just work more. You just take night classes to get better certified for better jobs, for better paying careers. You can do it. It's not easy, but you can do it. And by this metric, you can very easily become a superior. You can become a man who earns over twice the amount of the average. That puts you in the high value man category. That puts you in striking distance of being desirable. And you may say, oh, I don't have time to work more. I don't have time to go to school. Well, listen, there's 168 hours in a week. The average man works 40 hours a week. Let's just say you sleep 8 hours a night. It's 56 hours a week there. You now have 72 hours left per week outside of working and sleeping to be making yourself better, to be working more, to be finding time to take online classes or night classes. If you want it, you can get it. Guess what? You know why people are called average? You know why the average is just that average? You know why the average is the majority? Because they're wanting to only do the things that everyone else can do. They're wanting to do what's easy. They're wanting to do what is simple. They're wanting to do what doesn't take a whole lot of effort. And that's what makes them average. But if you want to be above average, in order to get extraordinary results, you have to put forth extraordinary effort. And every high value man, every billionaire, every millionaire, every guy riding a yacht with 2 pretty ladies under each arm, that guy had to work much harder than your lazy butt did to get where he's at. So there's no excuse. If you want something bad enough, it is not outside of your realm of reach to get it. You simply put forth the effort. All right, so here's another way that you can be high value, that you can be superior, that you can be far above your peers. You can be that in your intelligence. You see, the average American man is dumb. I mean dumb. Low IQ, low intelligence, not very interesting, dumb. And the reason why he has such a hard time talking to women is because he's too stupid to be a good conversationalist. Listen, I'm telling you from personal experience, when you know a little about everything, engaging in conversation about anything is easy. In general, women don't like having to lead a conversation. You need to be able to flow and lead a conversation with minimal prompting. So if you're on a date with this beautiful lady, with this dime, that you are able to get by being in shape, by making more money, by standing out from the crowd like I've already told you before. So now you got this girl in front of you. She's on this date with you. And she decides to talk about a place that she wants to go to on vacation. You can either say, oh yeah, that's cool. I'd like to go there too. Like your average dumb dude. Like your average guy who's not going to get the score. Who's going to make this girl lose interest and go and search all of the other hundreds of options that she has. Or you can stand out by being like, you know what, that's a cool vacation spot. By the way, the history of this country is also very interesting. Did you know that this leader, this ruler came out of this country? And this is why I like this country, because of this history that went down there. And, speaking of that, who is your favorite historical character? Name someone that you look up to. Oh yeah, I look up to them too because I learned this lesson, this moral from them, which is also seems to be a repeating trend across multiple different cultures. But you can have a conversation like this that's engaging, that is flowing, that goes without pressure, that goes without force, that goes without awkward silences because you're smart enough to talk about anything. Women don't like having to lead conversations. They like to be led. Remember the things that I said that women want. They want a man who is essentially able to take care of them, able to protect them, able to provide for them. They want a guy that seems like a dominant leader. So generally, look at things they're attracted to. A guy that's taller than them, stronger than them, makes more money than them. A man that's smarter than them. A man that seems like he can handle every situation, that he always has an answer for, always has a solution, seems reliable. His intelligence shows that he's a good problem solver. He's a good conversationalist. This is the kind of thing that women want. But unfortunately, the average man is horribly failing in this category. I'll give you an example. So the Woodrow Wilson National Fellowship Foundation essentially did a study to test the historical knowledge of your average American, right? So essentially they surveyed 41,000 Americans in all 50 states, including Washington, D.C. They basically gave them a little quiz on just some basic, grade school level American history facts. It was just a quiz over what kind of knowledge you knew about American history, about our legal system, about our government, about the capitals of states, just simple, basic grade school type stuff. And this is what they reported. They reported that most disturbingly, the results showed that only 27% of respondents under the age of 45 across the country demonstrate even a basic knowledge of American history, and only 4 in 10 Americans even pass the exam. Guys, that's your competition. Your competition is absolute doo-doo, absolute trash. They're stupid, they're lazy, they don't want to learn anything because they are too distracted by slave-minded entertainment from TikTok, from video games, from social media. It's so easy to be better in this category. It's I think that intelligence is literally the easiest thing to gain. We live in an era of time that's literally known as the era of information. It's known as the era of information. What excuse is there to be stupid? You can learn anything on YouTube. There's endless free documentaries on any subject that you can stream on YouTube. You can listen to podcasts while you're in the gym. You can listen to audiobooks while you're driving. There's so much free information that's out here. You have the internet. You have every encyclopedia in the world that has ever been written since the beginning of human history, literally in the palm of your hand, that you can find any bit of information with just a few strokes of the key. We live in an era where information is everywhere. What excuse do you have to be dumb? Don't do that. Be above average, especially when being above average is so easy. If you can't be above average when it's this easy, what does that say about you? That, quite frankly, says that you don't deserve to be a high-value man. If you can't put forth the effort to do the easy things, what makes you think that you deserve to be a man of value? Let's look at this metric of incompetence of the average man today. The average man in the West today is weak and incompetent and is probably not able to defend himself or anybody else from a real threat. Remember, I said women are genetically ingrained, biologically ingrained to want a man that can bring them security. They are designed to look for a man that can provide for them, that can protect them, that can defend them from threats. Look at this study here. This study essentially reports that less than half of men in the West have ever even been in one fight, and less than a quarter of men have been in more than one fight. And I guarantee the event that most of these people are considering as a fight is probably super ugly. People with no skill throwing and flailing punches at each other, not even knowing what they're doing. Looks like some kind of weird queer mating ritual. That's not a fight. It's not a real fight. It's not a real fight against somebody who's dangerous, a fight that actually takes skill and competency. The majority of these people who say that they've even gotten in a fight wasn't even something that was real. The art of being able to fight is lost. It used to be 1,000 years ago that as a man who was past puberty, you were expected to take up a sword and go and fight for your village, go and fight for your nation, go and fight for your king. And you were not honored. you were not respected unless you had some level of battlefield competency, or even unless you even had the bravery to go and stand out and face your enemy. Now we live in such a civilized culture. We live in such a civilized, weak culture where, though it's nice to have laws and stability, we still need to have the primal human ability to defend ourselves and to defend our family. It is something that should be instinctual in every man, and it is something that is instinctually ingrained to look for by women. Women want to find a man that can protect them. You can be better by simply learning how to fight, by simply going and getting martial arts training, by putting yourself in realistic sparring, combative, competitive scenarios that test your ability to defend yourself and make you better. That makes you more attractive to women, and that puts you far above the average. Because the average, let's be honest, the average is going to hate on you when you become a high-value man, but they can't do anything to you if they ain't got hands but you do. And going on this topic, we even look at this study here, which to me is absolutely heartbreaking. It's one thing to not be able to fight, because you can fix someone who can't fight. But somebody that won't fight is unacceptable. That's dangerous. That's dangerous to societies. If men are not willing to be brave enough to fight for what they believe in, that is a very, very, very sad and scary telling sign. This study right here essentially was a survey of a bunch of Western countries to see what percentage of men were willing to fight a war for their country. And what's crazy is the more westernized a country is, the more easy life is in a country, the more first world a country is, the less likely people were willing to fight. The less likely people were willing to go and die for their nation. Like, look at this, for example. Great Britain, a first world country, only 27% of men were willing to fight to defend it. Italy, a first world country, only 20% of people were willing to fight to defend it. Whereas countries where life is harder, Eastern countries where life is harder, where more traditional values are held, where men are, by every metric, more manly, these people were willing to fight in much greater numbers. In Russia, 59%. In Turkey, 73%. In Vietnam, 89%. In Pakistan, 89%. In Fiji, 94%. In Morocco, 94%. In Bangladesh, 86%. Places where life is actually hard. Places where not everybody has running water and an easy existence. Places where life is hard. People are more willing to fight. But yet the majority of men in the West, they're comfortable. They're soft. With their easy lives, they've become weakened. And on a balance of probabilities, an average woman still would want a man that could get up and defend her in the middle of the night. If someone were to kick down the door and there were to be a loud crash downstairs and there was an intruder in the house, an average woman would want a man that was able to defend her. An average woman would want a man that would be able to defend her honor if they were out in public and someone insulted her, grabbed her butt, or publicly disrespected her. A woman is going to want a man who can do that. And unfortunately, it seems like the average man can't. So that's the way that you can become superior. That's the way that you can become a high-value man, a more desirable man, is by simply learning how to fight, by simply learning how to handle yourself in a combative situation, simply learning how to use your body and objects as weapons. It puts you at a great advantage, and it puts you high above the average, high above the majority. And as we're talking about how applying all these traits to your life will make you a superior man of higher value, a man who is more desired by women, it is actually interesting that being able to get more women makes you high value in itself. The ability to attract more women to you makes you above average, makes you superior, makes you more rare, makes you a higher value. Why? Because the average man cannot get girls. You see, the New York Post posted data from the Pew Research Center that basically said that 63% of men under 30 are single, which is up from 51% in 2019. Your average man cannot get the attention of women, and if he does have a woman, it's by the skin of his teeth. It's a woman that probably doesn't really like him that much and is constantly searching and scanning around for better options. It's a woman who is probably damaged, who is probably needing some attention, some emotional affection at the moment, and so she's settling with the guy who she knows is far beneath her standards just to fill her emotional needs while she searches for a more dominant option. This is why she still has her titties and her butt posted on Facebook and on Instagram and on all different social media platforms. This is why she doesn't post a picture with you on her social media, because it takes her off the market. This is why she still wants to go out to the club with their friends on girls' nights on the weekend, because she's still looking for a better, more dominant option. So by being a man that has multiple women around him, multiple women who are desirable and who truly want him and desire him as a first choice, this makes you a high value man. This makes you a man of value. This makes you superior to other men around you. You see, by becoming a superior in all the different ways that I just told you about before, you will attract women. But attracting women will also make you more of a superior, in contrast to the men that are around you. Because you're doing something that most men can't do, and that is get women to want you. Your ability to have multiple women around you will actually serve as a status symbol to represent your superiority over other men, as well as attract more women to you. Yes, it is actually a fact that women are more attracted to men who already have women attracted to them. You see, it goes back to early biology. Women, when times were hard thousands of years ago, when the world was a much more dangerous place, a woman was literally risking her life when she went to go and choose a mate. If she found the wrong one, it could literally mean the end for her and her children. So she always wanted the strongest one. And it was so much easier to choose a man who is strong, who is capable, who is a warrior, who is a provider, who is a protector. It was much easier to choose that kind of man when he's already been chosen by another woman. When this man already has other women around him that he's already taken care of, then that's less of a selection that this woman has to do to see who's a good man. This is called pre-selection. As a matter of fact, this study right here that I'm pulling up on the screen shows and demonstrates this point. The women are more attracted to a man that has the ability to get other women. So by becoming a superior over other men, by becoming a man of higher quality, by becoming more rare than your average, you win the spoils of war. You get the benefits of being an elite that men who have been in the position of elitehood have enjoyed since the beginning of time. The admiration of other men, the obedience and the respect of other men, but also the desire of women. You see, that is the way that kings, that conquerors, that nobility, that warlords have lived and that have had since the beginning of humanity. And that's what I want you to be. That's the life that I want you to have, because that's what we're about here on the MD Medic podcast, making you the best, the strongest, the richest, the sexiest man that you can be. I want to make you guys into high value men, because there's no point in living in existence on this earth as a mere peasant. You must be a king in everything that you do. So go forth and conquer, my friends. The world is yours.